Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, March 11, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, let me know what did that's like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the US Climate Prediction Center's Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. This update just came out today, March 11, from the forecaster whose name is All Good. And they've stated that for the time period from March 19 to March 25, as well as March 26 to April 1, we're going to be experiencing normal weather conditions across the Caribbean for the most part. As we can see here, we don't see any significant greens or any reds or any browns that represent all of what we see here on the key on the bottom. We know the greens represent above average rainfall probability, the reds represents tropical cyclone formation probability, while the browns represents below average rainfall probability. And we know the yellows into the oranges above normal temperatures and the blues below normal temperatures. And we can clearly see that there's a lot of activity taking place near Australia, over in the Western Pacific as well. We see some activity, whether it's below normal rainfall or above normal rainfall in the southern portions of the Western Pacific. A very interesting forecast. Very interesting times ahead for northern Australia, as we can see here. If you have friends or relatives who reside in those areas, let them know that you're thinking about them, because they're definitely getting in on some amount of tropical cyclone formation probability over the next couple of weeks. They could see some cyclones in that type, if that in that part of the world they call the hurricane cyclones. So yeah, let them know that you know that they're in for some bad weather for sure. They've already been getting lashed, and there seems to be a lot more chances for this to happen before we wrap up there. I believe they're having their summer right now, the end of summer. Yeah. All right. So let us take a look at what the two supercomputer models are showing according to the latest year on the GFS that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's just see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Wednesday morning, we don't see much in the way of rainfall across the island. Maybe some isolated showers to the north of us. Then by Wednesday afternoon, that's where we see the rainfall across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes according to the Euro. The GFS not showing much of anything on land or close to land. Maybe some isolated showers to the west of us, northeast of us. Then by Wednesday afternoon, that's where we start to see what the Euro was showing, rainfall across sections of mainly central and western parishes. Let us see what Thursday is bringing. As we head into Thursday morning, we see some greens that represent some isolated showers to the north of us, south of us, east of us, and west of us. Then by Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let us see what the GFS is showing. We see rainfall to the southwest of us, rainfall across northeastern parishes on Thursday morning. Then by Thursday afternoon, look at this. Widespread rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Heading into Friday, what do we see? We see the greens that represent some isolated shores to the south of Jamaica, to the north of Jamaica, especially across Hispaniola, northern Puerto Rico right there. Then by Friday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing for the same time period. We see that rainfall trailing all the way from Puerto Rico across Hispaniola into Jamaica for sure on Friday morning. Then by Friday afternoon, We see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting forecast. Then by Saturday morning, what do we see? We see rainfall to the north of us, rainfall to the south of us. Then by Saturday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers out west, according to the Euro. That's what the GFS is showing. Saturday morning rainfall is more so to the southwest of us. Then by Saturday afternoon, just a dot of green across central Jamaica. Nothing significant for Saturday afternoon. Let's see what Sunday is going to be bringing. Sunday morning, what do we see? Some isolated showers in the greens to the south of us. Then by Sunday afternoon, look at this. Maybe some rainfall across eastern and western parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing for Sunday morning. Sunday morning, we see rainfall to the west of us, south of us, and east of us. Then for Sunday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's head into Monday now. Monday morning, we see some isolated showers to the south of us, to the west of us. We also see the showers associated with the frontal system across the eastern coast of the US, extending all the way down to Florida and the eastern Gulf as well as Central America. Then by Monday afternoon, we see that rainfall more so across the eastern end of Jamaica. We also see the rainfall associated with the frontal system pushing eastward too. And we're going to be stopping right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Tuesday, March 18, and we see the frontal system's rainfall pushing more so eastward into the Bahamas, Central Cuba, the Western Caribbean, including the Cayman Islands and Honduras. Let us see what the latest GFS is showing for the same time period. Monday morning, lots of rainfall to the south of us, even northeastern parishes. Rainfall associated with the frontal system of the east coast of the US, extending down into Florida and the Yucatan. Then by Monday afternoon, what do we see? We see some dots of greens across southern Jamaica, maybe some isolated showers. We see rainfall to the south of us, to the west of us. Showers associated with the frontal system extending down to the Bahamas. Then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours as well. So this is valid for Tuesday, March 18. And we can clearly see the rainfall across sections of northern portions of Cuba, northern portion of Jamaica getting on some of the rainfall too. And if we actually look at the latest accumulated precipitation forecast maps from both the Euro and the GFS showing the Caribbean in general, we know the most in-depth rainfall is represented by what we see here on the key on the right. That's the dark reds into the purples and the pinks. That represents 2 to 5 inches of rainfall, and we can clearly see that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should be across the waters to the northeast of the Caribbean. Should be extending from the waters to the northeast of the Caribbean into portion of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the northeastern portion of the area, maybe extending down to the eastern Caribbean, maybe Martinique. We also see a lot of rainfall expected for northern South America. We're talking about Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, section of Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, section of Colombia getting on some of the action too, even section of northern Honduras picking up a lot of rainfall as well. And that is some amount of flood triggering rainfall that definitely can cause problems for some people. 2 to 5 inches of rainfall is nothing to sneeze at. It can definitely cause some issues. And we also see the greens into the yellows, into the oranges, and the reds. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall. And that's going to be in store for section of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, section of Barbados, section of Haiti, Cuba, the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, and the Yucatan Peninsula. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are adamant about this. So it's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out over the next 7 days. But switching gears and focusing our attention on Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, we can clearly see that all of these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until March 18. And we can clearly see the greens into the yellows. That represents anywhere from 15 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to maybe 45 millimeters of rainfall. Look at that area in Kingston, 45. And we know most of this rainfall is going to be during the afternoon hours, and we see that it's going to be based across eastern, central, and western parishes. The GFS a bit more reserved, showing the blues into the greens. That represents anywhere from 5 millimeters all the way up to maybe 30 millimeters of rainfall. We see a 36 right here to the south of Manchester and Clarendon. Either way, we see lots of grains across especially central and eastern parishes, and we know that most of this rainfall is definitely going to be during the afternoon. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how it unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a trough right here attached to the frontal system's area of low pressure extending down to portions of the northern Bahamas. We see the blue spike line right here associated with the frontal system extending down to portion of the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba, the western Caribbean, and Central America. And we see a ridge of high pressure right here, and to the east of the ridge of high pressure we have a frontal system and the trough that is induced to the north of the main development region. And we know these ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can see all of these entities. First of all, here is the area of low pressure spinning away off the east coast of the US, extending a trough all the way down into portion of the Bahamas. We can also see the clouds associated with the frontal system extending all the way down into portion of the southern Bahamas, eastern Cuba, the western Caribbean, and Honduras, just like what we saw on the surface map just now. We can even see the clouds associated with the other frontal system extending down the trough to the north of the main development region, just as we saw on the surface map. And we can even make out the low level flow of the winds pushing those low level clouds and mid level clouds from the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, March 11, 2025. It was stated in yesterday's video that rainfall would have affected sections of some central and western parishes during Tuesday afternoon. And we know central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as 4:31 p.m. the visible satellite image was not only posted right here on our Twitter page of Weather Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page of weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page of Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page of Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we may post throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So you can see the visible satellite image right here, and it highlighted that we were definitely getting in on some clouds, bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers to sections of mainly central and western parishes, including Hanover, Westmoreland, maybe section of St. James, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, section of Trelawney, St. Anne, maybe even northern Clarendon and northwestern St. Catherine might have gotten on some of the action. So too maybe northeastern St. Andrew, southwestern Portland, northwestern St. Thomas might have even picked up some of the overcast skies condition, if not some isolated shower activity. And look at the flow of the clouds. Look at the flow. More of a westerly flow on the western side, more of a southeasterly flow on the eastern side, more of a northerly flow. So this is what we call a variable kind of flow. The clouds don't know which way to go. They're just building across inland areas of the island and extending outward. But we can clearly see that we didn't get in on much in the way of any real convection burst. Don't see any high cold cloud tops veering off to any direction, all courtesy of the upper level wind shear at all. And the infrared close-up satellite images right here confirm this. Don't see any blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds that represent that at all. And if we take a look right here at See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing the flat bridge camera at around 3:45 p.m, we can definitely see that it was a sunny day for the most part. People in their vehicles going about their business, definitely dry conditions for sure. And we can see right here how calm the Rio Cobra is at this time. It is the dry season, so it is expected. We don't expect much in the way of rainfall at all. Maybe when we get into April, May, that's when we might see the Rio Cobra back up to the level of the road. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint a picture of where we might have had the rainfall today across inland areas of some central and western parishes, and even that area that we mentioned across southwestern Portland, northeastern St. Andrew, northwestern St. Thomas might have gotten some overcast skies, if not some isolated shower activity. And if we take a look at the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, let's see what's happening right now. The very latest still image is showing the time 15:45 UTC, and if we take a look at the time right now, hold on, I think it's glitched. I think it's definitely glitched. Let me see if I can work out the UTC, because yep, that's definitely glitched out. Let me see if I can bring up the infrared, the latest infrared, because 15:45 UTC, I think that is around 10:45 a.m. Yeah, so yeah, the Weather Nerds satellite imagery is definitely glitched out. So we're gonna be looking at the latest, and the latest is, here we go, 0010 UTC, but we don't have it as close up, because I was wondering, how do we have so much clouds on land on the visible that was working, and then on the infrared, when we started to lose the sunlight now, all of a sudden all the clouds vanished, playing tricks on me. So that we showed was actually showing 10 a.m. in the morning. This one right here is showing the latest infrared. Still have some leftover low to mid-level clouds, as represented by the slight whitish bluish shades. We don't see any yellows into the oranges though. Don't see any thunderstorm activity. All of that is far to the north of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And if we take a look at what's happening right now regarding the Cuban Doppler radar, let's see, let's reload this so that we have the very latest to show. Hopefully it's not glitched out. We can even make out some isolated shores right here across the waters to the east of maybe Little Cayman. Let's see. Alright, it reloaded, and now it is showing 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7:10 p.m. Jamaica time. So this just came out, what, 21 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:31 p.m. now. And what do we see? We actually make out some isolated shores across the waters to the north of Jamaica. Very interesting. Maybe some isolated shores to the west of Westmoreland, to the north of Westmoreland, to the north of St. James and Trelawney. Very interesting. Let's see what the latest Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery is showing. Some isolated shores across eastern Cuba. Let's reload this so that we have the very latest to show. Here we go. Blues into greens represent some light to moderate rainfall. We even see some isolated shores across Portland and even section of the western peninsula of Haiti. Alright, let's see what's taking place on the Cayman radar. It's like what we saw on the Cuban Doppler radar. There's some isolated shores to the east of Little Cayman. You also see some isolated shores right here to the south and southwest of Grand Cayman there. Can't make out anything across western Jamaica at this time. Taking a look at what's happening right now according to See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing the live camera crossroads in St. Andrew. You can see people waiting on transportation. We can see people walking about, going about their business. We can see people in their vehicles going about their business as usual. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, you can visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. It's all for free. So just go over there and ensure that you subscribe while you're at it. Temperatures right now show that we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And you can see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellow shades. That will now represent up to at least 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature. I know the normal temperature for the month of March across Jamaica is around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So considering that we're going to be getting on the yellows that represent up to 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature, we should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 31.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Wednesday. And we have some maintenance outage advisories here to highlight from my JPS online studio page. And we know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages, it can definitely be exacerbated by the heat. The heat feeling even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Wednesday, March 12, 2025. And we're referring to Lawrence Tavern, to Border, and Luna District, as well as Belmont, Unity, Goulburn, Mount Charles, King Weston, Pigeon Valley, Paisley, and Rose leading off in the parish of St. Andrew from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're also referring to Esher Housing Scheme, Providence, Spanish Hill, Bull Bay, Back Road, Newtown, Egypt, Cousin Cove, Campbell Hill, Lances Bay, all in Hanover from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. We're also referring to Schwa Field, Foreshore Road, all in Trelawney, one from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. and the other from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And finally, we have Winston Jones Highway in Manchester from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. Keep hydrated, drink lots of water throughout the day even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see that there's an abundance of dry air across the entire Atlantic basin. I know the dry air is responsible for keeping a lid on things, making the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain, making it harder for us to get systems. We see a lot of dry air in the reds and the whites within those reds, in and around the Bahamas and Florida, off the east coast of the US, off the west coast of Africa. While we see the low end of the scale in terms of dry air across the Western Caribbean to the Bahamas. The low end of the dry air is represented by the yellows, and that means some moisture. We also see a lot of moisture in the blues across the Eastern Pacific and the Intertropical Convergence Zone as usual. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 8 a.m. on Wednesday, we can clearly see that North America, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, and Central America are going to be in the clear because all the browns represent the Saharan dust should be all the way out here across the main development region. And we're glad that we're not seeing that vigorous plume either. The vigorous plume we know is represented by the dark shades of browns, and we know that could mean that we're going to be getting on the very hazy skies that could trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons, asthma, sinusitis. So we're indeed grateful that this is the forecast for 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Not such a vigorous plume and all the way out to sea in the main development region, not affecting a soul. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, all we're seeing across the entire Gulf into northwestern Caribbean, central and eastern Caribbean is the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues that we can see here from the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave heights. And if we take a closer look at Jamaica's waves, the waters to the north of us up to 0.6 of a meter wave height, 0.7 of a meter wave height on the south coast. And that's because of the winds that are expected. Look at the winds, dull greens, and we see the flow of the wind as well. More of a southeasterly flow across the eastern Caribbean, easterly flow across the central Caribbean, more of a southeasterly flow into the Gulf as well. And we see the colors representing 5 to 10 knots, maybe even gusting to 15 knots in some spots. But regarding Jamaica's forecast, we see the winds coming in more so from, it looks east northeasterly-ish. Looks easterly-ish on the south coast here. If we actually take a look, it's about what? 6 knots from the northeast. Right here, it's 5 knots from the southeast. And we see that the air is going to be piling up across inland areas of some central and western parishes. Wherever we have the least amount of winds, that's where the air could pile up for us to get all of those clouds building, maybe some isolated showers. And who knows, maybe some upper level winds, if we get those. That's if we actually get some convection. Upper level winds could blow those high cold cloud tops maybe towards the southeast or to the northeast. We'll see it actually plays out, either way in terms of the actual rainfall forecast maps now. Both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. This is for 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the GFS and the Euro, which is actually 4 p.m. Jamaica time. And we can make out the blues on the Euro across eastern, central, and western parishes. But the GFS is more so believing that the rain is going to be across maybe eastern, northern, and western parishes. A very interesting forecast. It's going to be interesting to see what actually plays out. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast, you can clearly see that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. The Euro right here going all the way up to 0.37 of an inch of rainfall by the time the day is done. The GFS going all the way up to 0.18 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see it actually goes, and whatever happens, we'll definitely take it, because we're in the month of March. We're in the peak of our dry season. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for the month of March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and that website to show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So, we can see the low level to mid level clouds being steered from east to west across the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of the ridges of high pressure to the north. We can see the clouds associated with the frontal system extending down to the southern Bahamas, into a portion of Cuba, the western Caribbean, and Central America associated with that frontal system. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening down there by Puerto Rico this evening. As of right now, nothing is affecting Puerto Rico. We do see some isolated shores to the west of the US and British Virgin Islands. We also see some isolated shores to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, across section of northern Guadeloupe. And if we load these images from earlier today, not seeing much of anything across the northeastern Caribbean at all. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, we can make out some isolated shores coming in from the east, pushing to the west, maybe some isolated shores for Barbados later this evening. We also see a string of moisture extending from the west of Barbados into portions of St. Vincent. We also see some moisture pushing in from the east to the west into portions of Martinique, and some moisture as well to the east of St. Lucia. Don't see much affecting Trinidad and Tobago right now, but we do see some dust of blues into some slight greens to the east of there. And if we take a look at the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see that there's not much to see at all, apart from the heavy rainfall affecting portion of Suriname and Guyana as we speak, so two sections of Colombia. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the year and the GFS are showing other rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most in the way for rainfall within the next 24 hours. And I'm referring to southeastern Cuba, section of the southern Bahamas, section of Haiti, Dominican Republic, section of Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, section of Honduras, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, section of Colombia, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana. We also see some isolated shores in store for portion of the eastern Caribbean, maybe Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, maybe even section of Puerto Rico's getting in on some of the isolated shore activity too. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. I know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.